could quickly give just some general housekeeping rules. Upon entering the meeting, your microphones will be muted. So if you want to speak, please please unmute your audio before speaking. Also, just to give everyone awareness, this meeting will be recorded. So just so you are aware of that. We have closed captionings for this meeting. So when speaking, just please speak slowly and clearly, just so we could capture that accurately. And I believe that's some of the general housekeeping rules. I think also for each presentation, if everyone could refrain from asking their questions until the end of that portion of the meeting, we could capture all of those questions and answers with the closed captioning. So, all right, thank you very much, and I'll hand it over.
Okay, thank you, Rob. This is Deputy Commissioner Kevin McBride from the Department of Environmental Protection. Welcome to everybody. This is the meeting of the local emergency planning committee. And just for make sure you're at the right meeting, I'll just give the background of why we have this meeting. It comes out of the Federal Superfund Amendments and Reauthorization Act, which is known as SARA Title III, also known as the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act, EPCRA. It was enacted to provide local communities with information concerning the chemical hazards present in their respective communities and to facilitate the development of emergency response plans by state and local governments. Accordingly, New York City Local Emergency Planning Committee was organized in compliance with these federal requirements. The DEP commissioner appointed, either him or his appointee, serves as the chairman of the LEPC, while the New York Emergency Management Division serves as the secretary of the LEPC. And one of the requirements is that we have a meeting on an annual basis. So this is our annual LEPC meeting. So welcome to everybody that's attending. Hopefully it's a very informative meeting. At this point, I'd like to go around, and I don't know how many people are actually on, but just if we can go around the room and people introduce themselves who are on the call with us.
Okay, great. Rob, I'll start. Hey, it's Andy Diamore. I'm the First Deputy Commissioner of Emergency Management. Thanks for joining as well. And thanks for Kevin for hosting this.
Good morning. It's Captain Vincent Serino. I'm the Executive Officer for FDNY Hazmat Operations, and I've been on the Planning Committee now for the past several years.
Robert.
Good morning, everyone. This is Juan Arias, Chief of Emergency Operations for the Department of Buildings.
Robert Wilson, New York City Emergency Management.
Ira Foreman, Port Authority OEM.
This is Dan Murray. I'm Chief of FDNY Hazmat Operations. I have Chief Ed Bergamini here from Hazmat Operations as well.
Andrew McMahon and Garrett Hare from MTA Emergency Management.
Harry Meyer, Director, Division of Emergency Response and Technical Assessment, DEP.
Joanne Nurse, Deputy Director for Division of Emergency Response and Technical Assessment at DEP.
Joe Borelli, New York City Council.
Good morning, Seth Goodharts from the New York City Department of Health, Director of the Office of Emergency Planning and Operations.
Hey, you have Natalie from the Deputy Mayor for Operations Office too.
Good morning. I'm Lauren Campbell, the Emergency Preparedness Manager that covers all of DNS-NY, Visiting Nurse Service in New York. That covers the all of the city as well as Nassau, Suffolk, and Westchester counties.
Anybody else?
Good morning, JB Quartus, Con Edison Emergency Preparedness. Good morning, Kumar
Morning.
Patel from New York State DEC.
Caroline Nguyen from Emergency Management.
Jim Stevenson, Long
Ryan
Island.
Noble from New York City Emergency Management.
Good morning, Kathleen. Sorry.
Okay, Kathleen.
Kathleen Murray Phillips from National Grid. Good morning, all.
Stevenson, Long Island Railroad, MTA.
Nick Calabro, National Grid.
Sharita Hunter, New York City DOT.
Ben Krakauer, New York City Emergency Management.
Paulo Carlson, New York
Stephen
City
Rocker, New
Emergency
York State
Management.
Department of Health.
Okay, is that our full crew here?
Elena Ferroni, Emergency Planning and Operations, BOHMH.
Morning, Preston
Sandre
Clemens,
Orjaz,
Advanced Resilience
New York
Institute at
City
Jamaica Bay.
Emergency Management.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for attending. We really appreciate it, especially this has been difficult times with COVID. I hope everybody and their family is coming along and dealing with the COVID situation. Hopefully we're on the road to recovery at some point in the city here. Obviously, COVID affected our operations as far as the hazardous materials. Our right to know inspections that we do, and we usually do somewhere around 10,000 a year. During the height of COVID in March and February and April, we had to suspend our RTK, right to know in operations, because, well, we started teleworking, number one, with the people who handle that, but most places were closed, so we couldn't even go visit them. But I'm happy to say now, over the last couple of months, we've restored operations, and we're back fully restored with doing our right to know inspections, so that's a good thing. As far as our hazardous material responses, that wasn't affected at all. We still continued our responses. Our emergency responders were not teleworking. They were reporting to work every day. During the height of the COVID, the responses were down a little bit. The calls for responses, I should say, were down during those months. But now, as businesses are starting to open and things are starting to happen around the city, we're starting to see the increase in calls come in. But we're here to serve, so hopefully we'll get through this. All right, now we'll turn the thing over to Rob for the minutes from last year's LEPC meeting.
Sure. If anyone would like a copy of the minutes from last year, they could be found on New York City Emergency Management's website. So I will just begin.
Yeah, just one thing, Rob, if I wanted to mention also, because we normally have this meeting, it's in September. We're delayed because of COVID, and that's why we're meeting in September. This meeting would have taken place several months ago, but because we're so close to October, I figured I'd mention our annual requirement for our annual report is that it be released on October 1st. So we're right on schedule. The report is being finished up. It will be released on October 1st, and it would be posted on DEP's website.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm terribly sorry. This is Gail Saunders, City Law Department. I was muted before. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I will begin reading the 2019 Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting minutes. The meeting took place June 7th, 2019. As indicated earlier, the LEPC meeting is an annual requirement under the SARA 3 Act, the 1986 Superfund Amendments and Reauthorization Act, and part of the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act. It was enacted to provide local communities with information concerning chemical hazards present in their respective communities and to facilitate the development of chemical emergency response plans by state and local governments. The 2018 LEPC minutes were discussed at this point. The earlier minutes can be found on New York City Emergency Management's webpage. The 2018 update on Tier 2 submissions was read through by DEP. Between January and March, the Right to Know unit hosted a number of workshops and webinars that focused on educating facility owners on Local Law 143 and the newly added physical and health categories of the safety data sheets. DEP continues to work with consulting firms to migrate their clients from filing hard copy submissions to online filing. DEP acquired a list of registered auto repair and auto body shops from the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles website. Based off of this list, DEP is performing inspections at these facilities to ensure compliance with the community right to know law. DEP has developed a risk management plan database with step-by-step guidelines for reviewing submitted plans for completeness. Once the plans are approved, inspections are scheduled to ensure proper compliance with the law. The meeting then progressed to the Hazardous Substance Advisory Board, which was again led by DEP. The Hazardous Substance Advisory Board meeting was made part of today's meeting, June 7th, 2019, LEPC meeting. The Hazardous Substance Advisory Board is a subset of the LEPC. So the Hazardous Substance Advisory Board March 13th, 2019 minutes are as follows. DEP had conducted 6 workshops during the months of January and February to assist facilities in their Tier 2 filings. 4 workshops were held at DEP's headquarters, and 1 workshop was held in Staten Island and the other in the Bronx. DEP is looking to hold a workshop in Brooklyn for the next filing year. DEP is continuing to host annual webinars to assist new facilities with their filings. The webinars are focused on the new local law requirements and the new Tier 2 form, which includes, again, the physical and hazardous health sections. DEP plans on holding additional workshops throughout the year. DEP worked with New York City business experts to transition customers from submitting hard copy submissions to online submissions. As a result, DEP was able to transition 91 facilities to online filing. 10,074 submissions were received. Of the 10,074 submissions, 267 were from new facilities. 9,637 facility submissions were submitted online. 437 were submitted via hard copy. In terms of risk management plans, 350 risk management plans are on file. An additional 39 facilities are required to submit RMPs. DEP received 93 risk management plan affidavit letters, and DEP received 53 updated RMPs. In terms of inspections, 6,627 inspections were performed. 60 facilities were exempt from filing. 289 facilities went out of business, and 207 facilities were issued a notice of violation. The penalties under Local Law 143, which was promulgated on November 6, 2018, are now established. However, DEP would not issue violations for noncompliance. Rather, as inspections are completed, DEP would continue to educate the facilities on the law. The 30-day facility found in noncompliance would be issued a commissioner's order and/or violation. The emergency response team was preparing for the next Inspector's Day, which was held at the New Jersey EPA location. The focus of the meeting was interagency collaboration. Each agency in attendance was to provide a summary as to what each agency does to effectively collaborate with other agencies. The number of emergency responses over the past year were within 5% of each other as compared to last year's numbers. There were no major increases in the numbers of any one category of the types of responses DERTA handles. Their upcoming deployments were the St. Patrick's Day Parade, United Airlines Half Marathon, Yankee Opening Day, Mets Opening Day, the 9/11 Memorial Walk, and the 5-Borough Bike Tour. As for updates on the Tier 2 submissions, this again was headed by DEP. With respect to the Right to Know and Tier 2 submissions, DEP had received 10,797 Tier 2 submissions. 423 facilities were added to the database. 374 submissions were from new facilities. 10,230 submissions were submitted online. 567 were submitted via hard copy. 95% of the facilities submitted online. As it relates to risk management plans, 356 risk management plans are on file as of June 3rd, 2019. In addition, an additional 41 facilities are required to submit RMPs, 88 facilities reported updates to their plans, and 105 affidavits had been received indicating that no changes have been made to their plans. In relation to inspections, 8,934 inspections were performed during the fiscal year 2019. 495 facilities went out of business, and 303 facilities were found in violation of the law. As for the update on emergency responses, from fiscal year 2019 to date, DIRTA responded to 3,184 incidents, an average of 265 responses per month. 2/3 of the responses occurred during normal business hours. The remainder occurred during evening hours and weekends. The various complaint responses can be broken down as follows. 45% were reports of chemical odors, 15% large petroleum spills, 11% chemical spills, another 11% natural gas, 6% abandoned chemicals, 5% small petroleum spills, 3% unsafe chemical storage, 2% carbon monoxide, 1% explosives and/or WMDs, 1% steam pipe manhole special investigations. Special event deployments for that time were St. Patrick's Day Parade, the Yankees opening day, Mets opening day, United Airlines Half Marathon, 9/11 Memorial Walk, Five Borough Bike Tour, Brooklyn Half Marathon, and Salute to Israel Parade. The upcoming details were National Puerto Rican Day Parade, Heritage Pride Parade, and International Days. Regards to Local Law 143, Local Law 143 requires the proper citing and storage of hazardous substances. In January 2019, Local Law 143 went into effect. DEP RTK inspectors have begun to incorporate the compliance requirements set forth in the law in their inspections. DEP has created a brochure to aid facility owners. The penalty codes were adopted by oath. The penalties can range from $500 for a first-time offense to $7,500 for the third offense. As this is the first year, no fines have been issued by DEP. However, warnings and recommendations have been issued to facilities. As of next year, DEP will begin to issue fines if necessary. Now on to the final section of the minutes from last year is the notable responses. On January 31st, 2019, DEP had received complaint of a mercury spill in the amount of 1 liter. DEP had performed an investigation and found that the spill had occurred, and the individual responsible was a chemistry teacher attempting to clean up the spill. However, cleanup was not conducted properly and resulted in contamination of a 2-story building and storefront. As a result, DOHMH evacuated the building and DEP issued a commissioner's order to the building manager for proper remediation and the removal of the mercury in contaminated surfaces. The building manager did not obtain a proper licensed contractor to perform the cleanup, therefore defaulting on the commissioner's order and resulting in a major contamination of the building and exuberant costs. The cleanup at the time was still ongoing with a licensed contractor. Once cleanup is completed, DEP will perform a joint inspection with DOHMH to see if the building is safe for reoccupancy. If the levels are deemed safe, DOHMH will lift the evacuation order. Mercury must be cleaned up using a special mercury vacuum. In addition, all items, collection jars, carpets, flooring, etc., that have come into contact with mercury must be removed. Cleanup must be performed by certified licensed contractor. If you If you own a device that contains mercury, it should be not disposed of in the trash. The Department of Sanitation has information as to how to properly dispose of it. This information can be found on DSNY's website. Kits can be purchased for the cleanup of small mercury spills. Mercury is the only metal that remains in a liquid state at room temperature. The droplets are shiny silver white with a high surface tension, which is why they appear rounded on flat surfaces. With temperature changes, mercury can change into a gas and can dissipate into surrounding areas. That concludes the minutes from last year's LEPC. Again, these minutes and the video of that meeting can be found on New York City Emergency Management's website. Thank you very much.
Kevin, you might be on mute.
I'm unmuted now?
There you go.
Okay, I guess it went automatically to mute. So, how'd you know I was talking? So, anyway, I was just thanking Rob for all those, for reading the minutes. I know it was a long read. And next on the agenda is the Hazardous Substance Advisory Board that we'll hear from DEP DIRTA folks. And as you know, we have required to have quarterly meetings for the HSSB. And the last meeting we had was in June, and this meeting also counts as our quarterly meeting. So I'll turn it over. Joanne, read the minutes from the last quarterly meeting.
Good morning, everyone. The Hazardous Substance Advisory Board meeting was held on June 9th, 2020. The minutes from the previous meeting held on March 10th was read by Ms. Noreen Gallard and accepted by everyone in attendance. In regards to the Right to Know program, Dr. Harry Meyer explained the changes to the Right to Know program due to the COVID-19 pandemic. He stated that the Right to Know inspections were suspended in March, and 100% of the inspection staff have been performing telework, completing technical review of the 2019 Tier 2 submissions. He also expressed that he was proud of the amount of reviews that have been completed in the 3-month time period. Dr. Meyer stated that 95% of the 11,000 plus submissions have been reviewed. He explained that the Right to Know inspections will resume when safe to do so, and he hopes to get the inspection numbers back on track. In regards to our submission metrics for the Tier 2 and the risk management plans, Ms. Safa Yakub reported that during the 2020 calendar year, the Right to Know program received 11,252 submissions. 10,794 were submitted online, and 458 facilities submitted a hard copy report. Ms. Yakub also stated that 1,028 submissions were received from new facilities. The Right to Know program currently has 374 risk management plans on file as of May 31st, 2020. An additional 48 facilities are required to submit our risk management plans. The Right to Know program has received 139 RMP affidavit letters indicating that there were no changes and 45 updates to the existing risk management plans. In regards to our inspection data, the inspection unit performed 7,046 inspections during the 2020 fiscal year, and of these, 88 facilities were exempt from filing, 332 were out of business, and 341 facilities were issued notices of violations for non-compliance with the law and regulations. In response to our emergency response unit, Dr. Harry Meyer explained that DIRTA responders are considered essential employees and therefore have been reporting to work on a 24/7 basis. He also explained that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a 43% to 45 reduction in the amount of calls that DIRTA has received. Mr. Meyer attributes the reduction to the decrease of people going outside that could potentially report hazardous conditions, but noted that he has seen an increase in the calls in the past 2 weeks. Dr. Meyer also stated that currently no special deployments are scheduled to be conducted. Captain Vincent Sereno from the Fire Department stated that the July 4th firework display might be held virtually, but it has not been confirmed, and also believes that the UN event will be canceled. Mr. Kevin Clark from Emergency Management asked Dr. Meyer and Captain Sereno perspective as representatives from DEP and the Fire Department on whether these special events could be conducted in a safe manner in light of the protests currently occurring, which constitutes a large gathering in the same manner that a special event would. Captain Sereno responded that the main difference between the gatherings is that the protests are unplanned and unannounced and do not require permits, whereas the special event gatherings do. Mr. Kevin Clark also asked if the agencies are able to obtain the proper PPE or if there was a shortage. Captain Sereno replied that there is no shortage within the FDNY, and Dr. Meyer explained that currently 80% of his staff is performing telework, but the essential employees have the proper PPE. Mr. Clark asked for clarification from Dr. Meyer on what numbers the decrease in emergency response calls were based on. Mr. Meyer responded that the average number of calls that DIRTA receives under normal conditions is 300 to 400 per month. Dr. Meyer announced that the next meeting will be held in September and will most likely be combined with the LEPC meeting, which we're having today. In conclusion, Dr. Meyer asked if anyone had any questions or comments and reminded everyone that in order to keep the numbers down, we must keep the following guidelines in regard to frequent hand washing, social distancing, and wearing a mask. Dr. Meyer then thanked everyone for their participation and concluded the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. And I got my, I don't know if I'm on video, but at least I got the WebEx working on my computer so I could see the people that are online. So Rob, I could see you now. So is my camera working, by the way? I guess not. Okay. Yeah, you're probably better off. You can't see me. So, all right. Now we're going to go over the 2019 Tier 2 metrics. There's going to be Safa Yaqub from DEP DIRTA. Safa, you're muted. Safa,
Good morning, everyone. Now it's okay. For 2019 reporting year, the Right to Know program received a total of 11,439 Tier 2 submission. Out of the 11,439 submission, 1,094 submission were received from new facility and was added to the database. A total of 10,963 facility submitted online and 474 facilities submitted hard copy report. 95.8% facilities submitted online compared to 4.2% facilities submitted hard copy. For the risk management plan, the Right to Know program have a total of 375 risk management plan on file. For 2019 reporting year, 19 new RMP reports have been received. An additional 44 facilities are required to submit the RMP. 57 facilities have reported update to their plan, and 130 affidavits have been received indicated that no change have been made to their facility RMP, and 20 inspections were completed for RMP. For the inspection information, For fiscal year 2020, the Right to Know inspection unit performed a total of 7,133 inspections. 90 facilities became exempt from filing, and 211 facilities were found out of business, and 341 were in violation of the law.
Okay, thank you, Safra. And just a note on what Safa was speaking about with the facilities that are filing online, that 95, almost 96% online. That's a great
Yes.
number, and just thank you to my staff for doing that and getting them file online. Years ago, the numbers would have been reversed where people are filing the hard copies, and it's a lot easier for the DERTA people to review the facilities when they file online rather than going through bundles and bundles of paperwork. It's a lot easier to do the filing online. So we still try to encourage people to file online. That's why we do these workshops. We haven't had any in the last several months because of COVID, but we're looking to start again to try to help the businesses be able to do them and file online. So we should be getting back into business and doing that soon. But thank you, Safa. Turning it over to Dr. Meyer, Harry, the hazardous materials response metrics.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, everyone. I will now talk about the response metrics as well as some noteworthy responses as well as the special deployments. But let's start off with the responses. Like I said in the HSAB meeting in June, response numbers were down because of COVID up to 45%. Now that the facilities are beginning to open, the city is now opened and its phases are now underway, the numbers have stabilized with the number of responses going up. Overall, if I look at year over year, 2019 versus 20, with the impact of COVID, we had approximately a 30% change. Oh, I'm sorry. We had a 10% change from last year to this year. 3,531 last year versus 3,192 this year. So that's exactly 9.6%. So even with the impact of COVID, which, as I said, during the March, April, May months, reduced our response demand by 45%, they have stabilized now to almost normal numbers. And we are now hovering at no more than a 10% difference year over year. So it's interesting to see how the impact during the couple of months where facilities were closed did show an overall change in responses. But the pattern, though, is still the same that was similar to what was reported in last year's LEPC. We still have a bulk of the major reporting categories such as abandoned chemicals, chemical odors, fires, chemical spills, petroleum spills, natural gas leaks, as well as a few WMD special investigations still showing up. So the pattern is still pretty consistent year over year. We expect this pattern to continue, and we may actually close the year back to normal, even with the 10% reduction. Now, of course, talking about deployments, the last deployment that took place was New Year's Eve. After that, there were no other deployments because of the COVID situation, and naturally all the opening games, marathon, half marathon, etc., were suspended. And if those events did take place, such as U.S. Open, they were virtual. So, there's no spectators. We don't expect any. This week actually is the UN General Assembly. But again, from what I understand, there's a lot of virtual meetings taking place. So I foresee that this may continue all the way through the end of the year. I know that Thanksgiving will be virtual parade, just like the July 4th events. And this will definitely continue through the end of the year. Hopefully by sometime next year, we will have better news, and we will start getting back to what we regard as normal.
And
But-
Harry, I just want to mention
Go ahead.
something with the responses for those on the line. Just when we talk about deployments and the special events, we don't do that unilaterally. We don't go on our own to do a deployment or event. We're part of the hazmat branch for SIMS. So if a hazmat branch for SIMS is called because of a special event, that's when we would do a deployment. Thanks, Harry.
No, thank you, Commissioner. So, but there's always, of course, a notable response. And we do have one. Actually took place this year, with the first notification coming to us from NYPD ESU at 11:51 p.m. It actually occurred at It's an interesting situation. It came in as a call of an individual who burnt themselves with a chemical. When entry was made into the facility, it was discovered that the individual had numerous types of chemicals all over his apartment. So DEP was called in under NYPD ESU to assist in the identification of the material. DEP did conduct a preliminary analysis, did do the identification using laboratory, based instrumentation. And as I said, could be used for medicinal purposes, but it also has an illegal aspect. And because of that, naturally, DEP steps aside and performs as a technical support unit to NYPD. NYPD, of course, took the lead at that point through their narcotics unit, through their laboratory and crime scene. And this job actually took 2 days while the individual who was in the apartment was being held for possible illegal manufacturing of a narcotic. DEP, along with ESU and crime scene and the NYPD crime lab, actually secured the material, overpacked the material, and made sure that it was totally and safely transported to the NYPD crime lab, where, of course, their results, which are the final determining factor, were going to be used and submitted to the DA for prosecution of the individual. So it was an interesting job. A lot of material all at once, and some material was dangerous. Precursor material was dangerous to overpack, but we did safely do it, and it was a noteworthy job so far. We have our normal jobs that I've read to you with the categories, but for 2020, this one, takes precedent over any others. So, with that, I refer back to Commissioner McBride.
Okay, though, that concludes the agenda part of the minutes. Just open the floor if anybody has any questions or concerns about anything in the minutes or something else that they're concerned about, and we try to answer. And just if you ask a question, just please identify yourself and where you're from.
Just to remind everyone, you're automatically placed on mute. So if you do wish to ask a question, please unmute yourself so we can just hear the question.
Good morning, all. This is Captain Sereno, FDNY Hazmat Operations. I guess the only comment that I have, not really a question, was that up until about 3 days ago, there was some question about the UN General Assembly being held on Tuesday only, which would have been today. There was some thought that the President of the United States might be in town on this day. I received confirmation back on Friday from the U.S. Secret Service that they were going to cancel that. So there is no meetings that are taking place this week at the UN General Assembly. And my understanding is, probably everybody on this call, is that the Thanksgiving Day Parade is going to be a virtual event.
Okay, thanks, Vin. Anybody else? Any questions, comments? If not, I guess we'll conclude the meeting. Again, the annual report will be posted at the DEP's website October 1st. So all the numbers and everything for the year, and it's broken down by community board, etc. So if anybody's interested, you can view it on the website.
All right, and just to let everyone know that's on the call, these the minutes for this meeting as well as the video should be located on New York City Emergency Management's webpage for future access. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Rob, and your OEM staff.